Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello again, my friends. Hello again to Bizarre Brain Comics. And I am your horror host, the Dark Librarian, here to tell tales of terror. Oh, yes. Yes. I love that so much. Oh, do you not hear? Oh, the sounds of terror. But first, a toast to my good friend, the Doctor, Frankenstein. Oh. This time, we're going to talk about this little book right here. This is from Marvel Comics, 1973. The Frankenstein Monster, number 6. Written by Gary Friedrich and drawn by the great Mike Ploog. Ploog. Still a funny name. Yes, last time we talked about him was with Werewolf by Night. Oh, and his artwork is great for the horror genre. And this little book, this is, as I said, after the comics code was loosened up a bit and publishers began presenting horror comics again, and involving vampires, werewolves, and zombies, and other frightful things. Marvel did the Frankenstein Monster, because anyone could do the Frankenstein Monster, because it is beyond copyright. They just can't use any of the previous versions of the Frankenstein Monster, except for that created by Mary Shelley herself. And this is based directly on that version. So he doesn't really look like the Frankenstein Monster with Boris Karloff. Yes, the greatest Frankenstein Monster there ever was. Boris Karloff. Yes. And the first few issues of this title represented in somewhat abbreviated form the original story that appeared in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And then it went on from there. For several issues, they had various times in history through the century, through the 19th century and into the early 20th century, until eventually we got to the present time, which at this time, of course, was the 1970s, in which case he interacted with Dracula from The Tomb of Dracula and Werewolf by Night, the Jack Russell version of the werewolf, as well as Marvel superheroes such as Spider-Man, and even the original Marvel character of Man-Wolf, who was quasi-werewolf character, was John Jameson, the son of J. Jonah Jameson, publisher of the Daily Bugle from Spider-Man comics. So, if you're ready for a fright-filled foray. Let's go take a look at, oh, Mr. Bones let me go this time. The Frankenstein Monster. Yes, here we have the Frankenstein Monster number 6 by Marvel Comics, 1973. And here is a format reprinted. The cover's damaged. I hadn't noticed that before. This was reprinted a few years ago, which covers most of the appearances of the Frankenstein Monster in color and in the black and white, oversized black and white format. Let's get, yeah, from Monsters Unleashed. Oh, look at that beautiful cover painting. And here, Frankenstein 1974. This is by Val Mayerick. I've talked about him before. Oh, it's great. Very freaky. Very reminiscent of Bernie Wrightson to me. And of course, here we are with this, the wonderful Mike Ploog cover, with the monster in chains being threatened by this helmeted, uniformed figure with a saber. And I just like Mike Ploog's art, and you can see here, just on the first page, don't even have a full splash page. It's not even a half-page splash panel, but this first panel is great. His style, I just love his stylization, and it is wonderfully grotesque, and still you can still see a strong hint of the Will Eisner influence in his art. Okay, here we go. The monster is traversing through the mountains. This is it in Europe in the 18. I'm not sure if it says what year. It's in the 1800s, well after the time of Victor Frankenstein. And here we see these officers, the gendarmes. They play a part in the story. And he was the 10th prisoner we've lost. Yeah, they're discussing the loss of a prisoner. It's the 10th prisoner we've lost this month. Something is very wrong here. Yes, it may be perhaps I should visit Castle Frankenstein. Excuse me. And then here, double page spread instead. Oh, that's great. We see the time passing as the soldier rides forth. I like the way that the background is just in silhouette form. The foliage. And then we see the same pattern replicated here, only in reverse, with the creature heading towards the Frankenstein castle. And the title is In Search of the Last Frankenstein. Following a feverish ride through the dark forests of the village's edge, the young soldier sees it, Castle Frankenstein, reduced by the years to a foreboding, decaying fortress as he pushes onward. And here we see the decaying Castle Frankenstein. And then right over here, our two main figures coming together. My lord. Yes, the soldier. Look at that beautiful horse. And you can see the power and the power and
liveliness of that animal in that drawing. And then there's the monster himself. It has to be the monster, the one created by Frankenstein. I must warn the village. No, don't be a fool. Don't force me to harm you. Because although in the movies the Frankenstein monster was for the most part mute or spoke very rarely. He did some in the second movie. For the most part, he was without speech. Here he's both intelligent and very well spoken. Out of my way, so help me out. Idiot! You startled your horse, causing it to throw you. Oh, yes. And he's thrown to the ground, and so he draws his saber and attacks the creature. But the creature defending himself, and he thinks he's dead. The great way this way of telling the story visually, it was great. And here he is into the. Look at that face. Look at that horridly sad face as he goes into the depths of the castle, looking around. Then he sees these other shambling figures carrying either dead or unconscious man, and he follows them. And here these shambling beings, they take the man to the edge of a pit and lower him. And then we see, suddenly he appears. Well done, my mindless cretins. Now return to your cages, and you are to remain there until I once more summon you to duty. That voice, so tinged with evil and hatred. Yes, it is you. Not even an iron mask can hide a Frankenstein from me. Now prepare to die. But the mindless ones obstruct him. Don't kill him. Oh. Me, serve a Frankenstein? I would first die 1,000 times. And he continues to battle these mindless ones. But he is subdued, overcome by sheer numbers, and they beat him into submission until he's unconscious. And then we see that in that pit, they've lowered that other man into the pit with some hideous form of giant spider. And now the monster is awakened by the man he believes to be a Frankenstein. Look at the way, that beautiful form on that uniform. I love those boots. And the helmet. And the creature is in chains, cannot break free. Then he reveals that these mindless ones he has created them. These are the escaped prisoners that the soldier was concerned with earlier. The can't escape. And the escaped prisoners, so-called escaped prisoners, have been removed from the prison, and here they are, fodder for that horrid spider thing. But it's not just a spider thing. It saps their minds, their will. It does not consume their flesh or fluids as a normal spider does. So here, the creature is left alone. His time is coming. Shortly they will return to feed him to the spider. And he struggles. He loosens one of the stones, and water starts to pour in. Now he's concerned about possibly drowning if he can't get free. And then we see a figure entering the chamber here. And it is the officer he thought dead previously. And the officer sees the monster and thinks he is the evil behind this, not really paying any attention to the fact that the monster himself is a prisoner. Finally, he's able to reason with the man. Sees the monster. The monster shows him that the people are being fed to the giant spider. And to create an army. Now, the helmeted one returns. And he sees the officer there, and reveals himself to be the commander, the officer's own commanding officer. And he is revealing that he is building an army to conquer the country. And they engage in battle. Look at this. Very dynamic. Even just for a simple shot like that. Very dynamic. Very dramatic. Oh, he's taken aback. Because both men are excellent swordsmen. And the monster struggles more as the two men fight. And the officer is disarmed. Now he's about to meet his fate, but the water that had been pouring in has poured down into the pit, and the spider, to escape the rising water, has come up. And now, it says, "You flee, soldier, and depend on me to rid your countryside of this menace, even if it means sacrificing my own life." "It won't attack me. It can't. I am the one who has fed it." "You are mad, Colonel." "It doesn't recognize you. You are no more than a meal to it. Leave with me now or perish." And he refuses to perish. Look at those faces, the character. The officer hurriedly leaves, and the creature is able to finally break free, tearing down the wall with his struggles. And it's a torrent. Look at the beautiful torrent of that water. And there, everything is soon submerged. And the colonel is dragged to the bottom by the very helmet which has been hiding his identity. And then the creature, the spider, it is above the water, trying to get away. And then the Frankenstein monster confronts the creature, and is there submerged, where the spider will die. And he sees, you can just barely see down here in the foreground, the silhouette of the drowned figure of the colonel. And using the chains, he is able to subdue the spider, and it dies. And the monster swims towards the stairway for egress. And here we can just faintly see the figures of the drowned mindless ones and the colonel. And finally, he can't get out, but the pressure has worn against the decaying wall of the castle, and erupts, gushing forth both water and the Frankenstein monster. There it is, down in the river, down below. The monster pulls himself from the torrent and is free, and still seeking the last Frankenstein. Yes. Oh, that was great. It was very fun. And I think some of these horror stories that were also had movies made of them, like the Frankenstein Monster, like the werewolf. I think they are written better than the classic movies, but they can do things in the comics that they can't necessarily do. For example, I really loved the Frankenstein movie with Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, and it has a great climax with the castle, the flood, the collapsing of the dam, and the water destroying the castle, and the monster supposedly destroying both the monster and the werewolf in the flood. That's the kind of stuff you really like to see in these comics. And I'm not sure, somewhere, I think they have it in here somewhere, when the Werewolf by Night, no, I don't see it, fought. I know it's in the Werewolf by Night story, reprint book. But here we can see, well, the creature with Spider-Man and Man-Wolf, showing that in contemporary times. So all these horror things coincided with the superheroes. And Mike Ploog's art, and Gary Friedrich, I think he did a wonderful job of writing these. The art is the page layout, the storytelling, like right here. Oh, this one right here, this double page is great storytelling. But this double page spread right at the beginning, that is wonderful, wonderful storytelling, and it just draws you into the story. And this double page splash, and really shows you. It's like boom, like a crescendo of music with this art. What can I say? It's just marvelous. These guys were great, and I really love these things. Well, I'll have more about Mike Ploog another time. I wanted to get through this. And of course, other artists, as I showed here, other artists did good work with the Frankenstein Monster, but just none of them are quite as good as Mike Ploog, with a possible exception here of Val Mayerick. It's some great stuff. I hope you enjoyed it. I sure did. Please like and share with your other horror friends and comic book friends, or just art friends. I appreciate it. And remember, comics are art. And as you read these horrifying tales, remember to have pleasant screams.